Alright, so we have our building floating here in space, and we want to give some resemblance of ground, or otherwise called topography, is the term we use. And really, we can do this a few different ways, but I think the easiest way to really start this off with is drawing a big plane through the middle of our building like this. So we're just drawing a big flat surface. And so I think there's a few different ways to do this topography. We can just model as a flat object, and I think that's just the easiest. And then the other way is we can actually give our building some slope up to the building and make it look like it's just not a completely flat site. So let's start by, let's extrude this down a little bit, and let's hit the Control key, which I don't think will do a whole lot in our case. Let's lower that down like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this down so that it ends at the bottom of our stairs, roughly. And that's actually a little bit, our garage floor is a little bit lower. So yeah, let's maybe go down to our garage floor level like that. I'm just going to leave a little bit of our garage floor exposed there. And then we may have to do a little bit of a slope just so that we can get up to our stairs, I guess. But really, we can have a flat site like this. And then what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to remove the bottom part here. I just want to keep our top layer. And really simply, that's almost topography, but I am going to do a couple more things here. So I'm just going to select this whole box, and I'm going to deselect all my layers, all my groups here. Actually, maybe there's a better way to do that. Let's just select the edges. Let's make this into a group, since we love groups. And then I think the last thing we really want to do with this topography is we actually want to cut our building out. So our building is, our topography is cutting into our building right now, and there's no actual separation. So essentially, we just want to trace our building where it intersects with our topography. And so let's actually edit our group here, like so. And then we want to find our edge, and let's just go around and trace where our building touches this. And then the last step of this will be just cutting out that inner part. So, I mean, really, this is not a very hard thing to do to create topography. I think more so the idea of not knowing what to do is probably the harder part. But now that we have this box going around here, that's really our topography. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hide our garage floor for a second. And you'll see that we have a surface in there, so I'm just going to delete that surface. And so now when we look up through the inside, our topography ends around our building. And so I think this is kind of the easy way to do it, just having a flat surface like this. Over here we still have our stair issue, and this is maybe a bit of a start into making this a little bit more complicated, but really what we could do here is take this area and just slope it to our building slightly. I don't know how far we go out here, but we maybe do something like this. And we'll find this corner here. It lets us find that corner. If it doesn't, we'll just do this. That might be why. They are on different axes. Oh, that's why, because I raised that up. Sweet. Make things more confusing here. Just going to go down here. That makes more sense. All right. So I'm just going to delete our upper lines. And again, this is really, we're just creating a series of surfaces here. It's not meant to be too complicated, but now what we can do is close this in, and we can make it look like this slopes up to our building, like so. And maybe back here we actually want to slope down to this corner so that the topography kind of ends its slope there. So that's how to create a little bit of slope. And so we can take that a step further with our building. So I'm going to actually just delete everything I just did there. And what we can start off by doing is we can pick maybe some points. So let's just maybe say we have a road out here, and then maybe we have a sidewalk in a little bit. Sidewalks maybe 5 feet. And then we have our building. And so what we could do is we could extrude these down. I'm not going to make this too complicated, but maybe let's go down 1 foot. And then let's go down 1.5 feet. And, again, we're just really adding some complexity to all these surfaces here. And I'm just going to delete my edges. And where we're going with this too is we have our driveway here, and so we want to figure out the slope of all that. So, maybe one thought is like our driveway is really cutting through all this topography, and so maybe our topography does rise like that, or maybe we just have a bit of a slope coming here, and we could just make up some sort of slope. And I'm obviously completely winging this right now, but we could do something like that. And, this is obviously going to get a bit complicated, but the cool thing about complexity in SketchUp now is we have our intersecting faces button. And so as we add complexity, we can just intersect faces and find where those edges are, and it's kind of done there. So let's go over to our garage area here, and let's bring a line through here all the way out to our road. Maybe we'll go straight like this. We'll just bring this line straight. And let's find, I don't actually know where this line, I don't know how to get that line down there. Let's go down to our surface like this. There we go, that's better. And so realistically, we want to slope from our curb down to our driveway like that. And then we have this other side of our garage. And this brings this up all the way to here. So that's really in a nutshell how to kind of get that to work. And then now what we can do is we can intersect these faces. And so we can just select all this. And we can obviously make this a lot more complicated, but we can do, I'm just right-clicking, but intersecting faces is also under Edit here. Intersecting faces with selection. And we're going to select a bigger area. We're going to select all the faces. So let's do intersecting faces with selection. And then what we can do now is just hide a bunch of these lines. So by hiding these lines, we're going to see where all these parts intersect. And then I'm probably not going to do this part, but what you can do is then, smooth the edges out a little bit. So you can make some sort of angle or just taper, like for example, the sidewalk and the curb here. Maybe I'll do these parts just to make this a little bit simpler, but let's just go back maybe 2 feet. And we can bring this line like this, draw this up to here, bring this down, and we can just keep going through our topography and doing that. And then we can erase these edges, and it's going to kind of slightly taper down these edges. So I'm not necessarily going into super in-depth detail with this, but you can start to make your property look a little bit more real by having, even just a very slight slope from a road to your building. So that's how you could set something up like topography. The cool thing about doing it in a group too is we can apply a tag to it and we can hide it and make it disappear if we don't want to see it. So let's add a tag for ground. Click our group here and we'll apply it to our ground tag. And I don't know last week if we actually created a tag for our stairs. So let me just check and see if I did that or not. And we got our staircase here. We did not tag our stairs, so let's tag our stairs. And we can add a tag here. Stairs. So that's ground. So I'm just going to